everybody. Welcome in. This is the Slate DraftKings Daily Show. Airs at 5 p.m.-ish. Madden, of course, is, it's a tale that we never know when it will end. Oh, Madden. Madden 22 starting today. So those of you coming over from the Madden Sim, we appreciate it. Thank you. Brendan Glasheen, Geoff, Ulrich. We are here right around 5. Today, a late start with the Madden game between the Patriots and the Bills. We will take you up until 6 o'clock. We'll get you ready for tonight, Monday Night Football, Baltimore and Indianapolis. We will also look ahead to Week 6, lines that jump out to us, stories heading into Week 6. We're going to react to yesterday, though, first. Geoff, what is your number one takeaway after taking in Week 5 Sunday?
I mean, there's a lot of things to take away, a lot of injury issues. I think for me, it was just probably just seeing these teams like Arizona and Buffalo kind of cement themselves as like the, maybe the more elite teams in the league. I mean, I think a lot of people are probably, jumping the gun on saying, oh, like there's a changing of the guard. Kansas City isn't who they were anymore. Like, these teams are better. And I think to an extent that's true. Like Kansas City has some major holes on defense, but this is a team that easily could be 3-2 right now. They should have won the Baltimore game. They've had an absolutely brutal schedule. They opened with Cleveland, then Baltimore, the Chargers. They had one easy game against Philly, and then Buffalo. Like these, we're not even talking about good teams. We're talking like elite teams. So the fact that they're 2-3, it's not that big a deal. And their defense is basically playing as poorly as a defense can be. So I think the bigger thing is the injury issues. They lost an O-lineman. Now Kelsey and Tyreek are banged up, and they lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So, people probably writing, putting the nails in the coffin too quick here. But they're going to have to get through this next little injury stretch. And unfortunately for the rest of the league, they still have Patrick Mahomes, so they probably will.
They are allowing 7.1 yards per play. That is not good. It is very bad. The Kansas City Chiefs, they are no longer the favorite to win the Super Bowl now. Tampa Bay is your favorite at plus 500. The Chiefs are now the third favorite to win the championship at plus 750. Buffalo is at plus 550. And if you can believe it, I'm annoyed with the line for Buffalo next Monday night because I think the Bills are getting disrespected. That's a tease for what we have coming. There's no question. Last night's game was a big wake-up call for me, too, because I like the Chiefs. Took the Chiefs -3. I thought they were in a big spot. It felt, and this is why I think I've learned now to take a step back. They've won one championship. I was trying to give Patrick Mahomes all this love last week because everyone's so obsessed with the Kyler Murray MVP talk. Have we forgotten about Patrick Mahomes? Well, as it turns out, Mahomes is a little sloppy Joe right now, and that might not be his fault. They're relying on him too much to make something out of nothing oftentimes. But when you're on the field a bunch because your defense can't stop anybody, you're a little bit more you're in situations where you might get exposed. And that's what's happened to Kansas City here these first 5 weeks. The AFC, though, and this is a good way to bring this up, the AFC is and I mean this in a good way, it's a kind of a mess. Like the Bengals, the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Browns all go down yesterday. So there's life for the Patriots. There's life for the Chiefs. Heck, even the Steelers are like still kind of in this thing. What do you make of the AFC? And that Browns-Chargers game was fantastic theater yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. People hating on Tennessee. They lost to the Jets. There's two teams right now who are in really, really good positions. And one of them is the Bills because they're ahead in their division. They got like a couple game lead and they're really good. But the other is the Titans, man. This team is going to sleepwalk through this division. Like just because Derrick Henry is taking 30 carries a week. And when playoff time comes, they might have Julio Jones healthy and might have A.J. Brown healthy. Their defense has to get better again, but like count out the Titans at your peril, man. This team has a lot of big wins under its belt. So I know you're not a fan. I know you're gonna come on here and say the Bills should be like -10 favorite next Monday night.
10?
But the Titans and the Bills, man, in the AFC, they're the two teams that are in the driver's seat. Like you said, the Raiders are who we thought they were. Didn't even come close to beating the Bears. Are you kidding me? This team is going to go down once they have to face the Chiefs a couple times. Denver's starting to show cracks too. Like you said, the rest of the spots are up for grabs, man. Cleveland missed an opportunity to get in a cozy spot last week too. So now they're in a dogfight. I think Cincy is still a very good team. Cincy should have won that game last week. Joe Burrow's playing good. Their defense is actually playing good now. So a lot of there's pretenders and there's actual contenders as well in the AFC, and we're gonna sort through them as we go here. But I think the Bengals, Chiefs, teams that you'll see rise up a little bit. But I think teams like the Raiders, and a couple others. There's definitely some pretenders there that you're gonna see fall by the wayside pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, even Denver's another one too. And sorry, I cut out there for a second. So if you said Denver, Denver was.
No, I did, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. I'm with you on that one. But I still like Denver's roster. I just don't know if they can. I just don't know how good they are. I
think Denver's a team who, they're probably going to be close, but the team is probably going to be like first or second, just out. If I had to guess where they'll end up.
Got to give you some credit, too, by the way, going back to last night's game. You told everyone last Monday, Josh Allen, there's some value, MVP. Yeah. What do you know? He's our favorite this morning. Plus 400 this morning. That's where Kyler was last week. Allen was plus 700 a week ago. And I know you mentioned Russell Wilson, too, but we could ignore that part.
I can't control injuries. And, I kind of mentioned Russ offhand, but when we were talking about
you've been consistent. You've been talking about Russ since August.
It's true. So, that's true. I have. So I'll take the blame for
that's
that.
Fair.
The Seahawks stink. Anyways.
But please, Josh Allen. Right now he's in great shape, but I don't know. Is that a situation now? You got to get on him now before it becomes – because I think you said this last week. He's got the best chance for a smooth ride the rest of the way here compared to everybody else.
He's on a good team. He's been really durable. We already saw Kyler get banged up last year. That's what scared me off Kyler. And with these MVP votes, man, I swear to God, you got to get psychological with it. Like, Josh Allen was in the MVP race last year. So voters are said, okay, he paid his dues last year. This is the second year in a row. We can reward him this year. We can vote for Josh Allen. It's okay. We won't look silly. We won't be like the person just going, oh, yeah, we love Josh Allen. It's okay to vote for Josh Allen now because he's beaten the Chiefs. He's been in the MVP race 2 years in a row. Whereas Kyler, he's still kind of the new guy. He's a little bit younger. He's never really been in the MVP vote before. Voters aren't going to be as willing to just jump off a cliff for him. I think Josh Allen is perfectly fine to bet at this number. I didn't like Murray last week at that number. I like Josh Allen at this number. Like you said, I just don't see a scenario where he's not at least in the top three, really close by the end. No one's really breaking apart from the group here. And like I said, Kyler is just going to have a monster year for voters to just go with him. So, and I'll throw this out. I think there's a little bit of value with Derrick Henry at plus 6,500 too. A little bit. Don't expect him because he's going to have 130 yards every game. But, if one of these quarterbacks gets hurt, like even just one of them, Derrick Henry is going to start getting in people's minds real quick. So
true. And it's been a few years now since we've had a running back win the award.
And it goes back to the Titans. The Titans are going to win their division. So most likely, right? So they win that division. Who's getting the credit? Well, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are hurt. It's Derrick Henry. So
right. All right. 1 second on my end here. I got to get back logged into my DK account.
Password.
Yeah, please don't show that. Didn't even think about it until I started typing. Okay. So there is our Millie Maker bill. That's from last week. We're off to a fine start this morning, aren't we? Or this afternoon, morning. Come on. We want to get into the Millie Maker, want to talk construction. Got to shout out the box. Think we're going to go a show without talking about Tom Brady. 6.4% owned. Evans and Antonio Brown was highly owned. He's in that Millie Maker winning lineup. There it is. Beautiful. Yeah. And Madison filling in again for Dalvin Cook. He delivered yesterday. What do you make of this build for N corner?
Look, double stack wide receiver with Tom Brady. Tampa Bay throws the most. This isn't rocket science here, guys. He double stacked a team that throws more than any other team in the league in Tampa Bay, with two receivers. If you're going to do this, target a team that throws a lot. Tampa Bay throws a lot. Their defense isn't even playing that good right now. They actually did get behind early in that game, which caused more throwing. So the Devonta Adams play, I think everybody was kind of in consensus that the Cincy corners weren't going to be able to keep up. That made a ton of sense. Mm-hmm. Madison, I mean, it's playing Detroit. So once Dalvin Cook was out, he was definitely in play as a big favorite. Yeah. Again, the cheap running backs really starting to pay off here. We don't really have those dominant studs. There's no C-Mac at 10,000 getting 35 points every week that you have to pay up for. Dalvin Cook is hurt. Outside of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry isn't even in this lineup.
Right.
Derrick Henry, how many points did Derrick Henry have this week?
I think Derrick Henry, he got as high as
35,
place 40? Or third place.
34 points. He's not even in the winning lineup. So you don't have to pay up for every single spot. Again, the cheap running backs, when there's injury news, it becomes so valuable. You get 30 points from a 5,500 guy. That's more valuable than Derrick Henry giving you 34 at whatever he was, 9,000, right? So again, if you go back to the winner, cheap running backs, the double stack on a high volume passing team, and then plug and play here. I mean, he hit where he really hit. Where I don't want to say he got lucky, but where he hit the right notes, where he had to get lucky was with Hunter Henry and Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney, a nice play against Dallas, but he needed Golladay to go out in that game. Hunter Henry, I don't even know. You're basically just throwing darts at his cheap tight ends at this point. It could have been Cameron Braid. It could have been like Mike Gesicki there. It was Hunter Henry this week. Shout out to this person for hitting the right notes because the rest of the lineup made a ton of sense. You pay up for the expensive passing stack. You go cheaper at running back. But that's how I look at this one. Right. If you're doing the double stacks, man, you got to go big. Go with the teams that throw a lot.
Right, and then I think Gesicki was in here in there he is in the third place lineup. Second place lineup had Gesicki. I played Ricky Seals-Jones in a contest yesterday. He's in the fourth place lineup really with Derrick Henry. Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones, nice cheap play.
I'm actually surprised. Again, I mean, obviously Hunter Henry had a pretty good game, but I am a little bit surprised Ricky Seals-Jones wasn't in the winning because 9 points at 2,500 is pretty spectacular most weeks. So
big time, and that's of course. I'm trying to remember now where Ricky Seals-Jones is. Washington. Logan Thomas went out. Thank you.
It's okay. Yep. He's been on like 6 different teams in the last 5
I know. We're like, oh yeah, that's right. He's still got the Kansas City picture up. So.
He started in Arizona. He went to, I think he went to another team after that. Then he went to Kansas City. He might have been on the Giants dude, he's been on like 16.
He was on the Browns at one point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, we delivered for our Madden audience. We talked about Ricky Seals-Jones, so we're being good hosts.
Kiss by a rose here, baby. I mean, let's go.
We will get to Ravens and Colts. So drop your questions in the chats. We will get to them. Thank you for playing along. We have folks on Twitter as well, YouTube, Twitch. Thanks for following along. We're going to take you right up until about 6 o'clock. We started a little bit late with the 4 o'clock sim going late. Let's go to the sports book. So week 5 was the worst week. It was by record. 6-9 week for the underdogs against the spread. They looked kind of all right going into the 4 o'clock games, but then Dallas, the Chargers, and the Chargers-Browns game was a pick 'em, and the Cardinals. The Cardinals barely escaped. They cover against San Francisco. Overall, though, underdogs are still really in good shape. Any sports book takeaways before we move to next week?
From last week, no, nothing huge. I mean, trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, I guess the Patriots game being really close was kind of a shocker.
Yep.
But nothing huge stood out. No, I mean, I think the one game I know I was really interested in targeting was I'm full on fading the Raiders. So, seeing the Bears at like plus 200 was just a stick out point for me. I really loved that game. That was the one big hit. My player prop sucked last week, but that game kind of bailed me out because he got big money on the Bears money line last week.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've got, let's do this now. I mean, we're going to move into next week and kind of see what jumps off the page as far as lines. Of course, taking a look this morning, we will get to the game tonight. So first one that pops off the page for me, the Browns are 2.5 point favorites against the Cardinals. I just think the Cardinals, they're a good team. They're a good story. I think they're due, Geoff, for a loss. And I know you like the Browns. And then, of course, someone on Twitter earlier is like, but it's the Browns, man. And I'm like, oh, I know. But good loss yesterday. The play calling, they've got to let Baker go a little bit more. And I like Stefanski. He's a good coach. They run. They're so run-centric in Cleveland. But I think they can play with a lead in this game against Arizona. The Cardinals, we talked about this early in the year. They went to Tennessee, back home. They went to Jacksonville, back home. Like, this is the first actual test for the Cardinals as far as on the road. Everyone's talking about you now as a contender in the NFC. They're 5-0, going on the road. They're 2 road games again. Tennessee, bad defense, and Jacksonville. This is their first actual test. It's at 2.5. It was at 3 this morning. I like the Browns.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on this one. What do the Browns do well? Well, they have Nick Chubb averaging like 6 yards per carry. Cardinals rush defense, not good. People are going to discount the Browns here because they gave up 1 million points last week. Oh my God. But I don't know. It's still a pretty solid defense. If they get even a little bit of pressure on Kyler too, that game last week, it was just so weird with the penalties too. Like, it was so weird. So I'm in complete agreement. I think Cleveland can control this game with Nick Chubb. And again, what happens after like a weird game like that? Often you see a team tighten up. Arizona does have a big win on the road. I don't want to discount this team anymore. It's becoming like a little bit scary, but you look at this, at what the Cardinals did last week too. And I think this is the thing that really has me leading Cleveland. They really weren't that good at taking out a San Francisco 49ers team who couldn't really move the ball. Like they had trouble on the ground there. They had trouble moving it. And in the slower paced game, like, it definitely favors Cleveland. So I see a similar type of game forming, and I would lean Cleveland in that sort of game. So yeah, we'll see where this line goes. I don't know if people are going to be the same as us. Maybe the smart money gets on Cleveland, but I don't even know. Like, it's already at -2.5. I can't see Cleveland getting it up to -3. So maybe wait. Maybe it wasn't
-3 this morning.
Okay, well, and if it opened at -3, that makes sense that it's dropped down because again, I think most people look at that and it's like, there's no way Arizona, like they're perfect. They're one of the best teams. They shouldn't be +3. So I think this line probably settles.
And we've talked about their schedule opening with Kansas City. They have the Texans. They got the Bears in there with the injured Andy Dalton. So, like you just said, everyone's freaking out about the points they just allowed. Well, everyone thought the previous week, this offense, they score any points. I mean, they didn't score many points against the Vikings, 14-7. Everyone took the over in that game, and then it led into this week, and everyone thought they couldn't score points, and they proved they can score points. They can win in different ways, I guess, is what I'm saying about.
And they're a bit of a schizophrenic team, Cleveland, which is why I like them, but I don't necessarily like betting them all the time. But they are they're not devoid of talent, right? Like, they have the talent to rise up in this game, absolutely. And if it does play like the Minnesota game, it's absolutely favors Cleveland. So.
Okay, another one. Chargers are getting 3.5. Like, what? I know the Ravens have to play tonight. We'll see what it looks like. But wait a minute. I guess it's because of that Chargers thing that we're all just afraid of. But what makes sense of that for me, please? They're on the road, but they're getting 3, and that's it. I mean, I'm kind of surprised it's not closer to a pick 'em.
Oh yeah. This one is interesting. I think this is another bad matchup for the Chargers. Like, I'm kind of fading the Chargers and Cardinals here. Okay. The Chargers, they're we saw it last week, man. Like, they could not stop Nick Chubb. They really shouldn't have won that game either. Like, let's be dead honest. The Chargers are not a bad team or anything like that. But, when you look at a team's record, I mean, where did their wins come? You could argue they got a little bit lucky against the Chiefs. Definitely got lucky last week with the pass interference calls. It's not like they were out of those games, but they could easily have, 2 more losses than wins. Very, very close. So the Ravens, stylistically, I think it's a bad matchup for the Chargers. Okay. You are getting them on a short week. I would love this line, and I think you will see this line go down. I don't think the Ravens are going to get up to like -4.5. I think this line will settle at 3, and at -3, I'll take the Ravens. Chargers, bad rush D. Lamar's going to run all over the place. We'll see what happens tonight. But if the Ravens come out healthy and an easy win or something, I actually wouldn't even mind if the Ravens lost this week and this line gets down to like 2 or something. So this is one to keep an eye on. But off the bat here, I'm going to lean Ravens. Okay. I think it's a bad matchup for the Chargers.
Okay, 2 more for me, and I'm not sure which games jump out to you. Are we getting to a point? I know we'll get to next Monday night with Buffalo and Tennessee. But are these Texans lines like? Are we at a point now? They're just too goofy. Like I know they're bad, and I know I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm watching the game yesterday. Pats were getting 9, and I know the Bills destroyed them a few weeks ago, but they're playing a mediocre Indy team. And we'll see what Indy looks like tonight. Maybe they found something in Miami, and Carson Wentz has figured it out. He'll carry some momentum into that game. But the Texans are getting 10 points. Like, I'm not saying I bet the Texans, but, like, the Texans, like, come on. They're really that bad, I guess, huh?
Yeah, the problem with a team that's like they just gets destroyed, like the Texans, is there's a natural overreaction to it. And they are a bad team, but it's still the NFL, right? I mean, we've only got 17 games. None of these teams, when it comes down to it, are that far apart. You can say, well, Geoff, you don't know what you're talking about. But, I mean, it was evidence last week. I mean, Davis Mills hits a couple throws. All of a sudden, the Texans get ahead and almost beat the Patriots, who just about beat the Buccaneers the week before, actually should have, right? So,
right.
All these things considered, like these one-game events, football is just such a game of, like, plays where, like, one play can just turn a game. Whenever you get point totals this big, it's scary, but it's still not a good team. I would love it if the Colts lost in this game and this line got down to 8.5, because I think the Colts, this is a very good matchup for the Colts because they can just pound Jonathan Taylor all game. They can have Carson Wentz throw the ball 24 times. Their defense is getting healthier. It's a little bit better than it was at the start of the year. I actually really like the Colts here, but I don't want to bet them at -10. I want to bet them at like 8.5 or something, or 8.
Good call.
Because 10 is just too much. Like you said, it is a bit goofy. And the Colts, as much as I do like them here, I'm not about to trust them with a 10-point line against, like, Division 3 team, right? So, I like the Colts. I'm not betting them until I see this line get down. So cheer for a Colts win, and then maybe at 8.5, I'll make it like a real bet next week or something.
It's a good point, and that might be a tease into what we get to tonight. That next week could be the Jonathan Taylor breakout game because we're all waiting for that.
And it could be tonight too. I mean, that'll be really interesting. I mean, I think the since we'll talk more about the Monday night game in a sec, but that is the one path to victory that I think the Colts have. If they can establish that run. But if Jonathan Taylor can take over the game with their O-line, I think they have a shot. But it like you said, it's going to be a much more likely scenario that happens next week against Houston.
Shout out Adam Levitan. Right? Isn't that the name of his podcast?
Yeah. Establish the run. Well, that's the name of his site. Yeah.
Yeah, the site. My bad, Levy, if you're listening. Okay. So one more for me. But Buffalo. Oh, look, Geoff, it moved. It's at 5.5 now. It was at 4.5 earlier. See, they're listening to me.
Okay, give me your take. Buffalo, come on.
Buffalo should be like a touchdown favorite in this game. Tennessee stinks on defense. Stinks. It's going to get to 6.5 or 7. Watch.
I hope it gets to 7 because I'll definitely be in on the Titans. The Titans got when you're like playing a game and it's like you're moving pieces around, and then like that one guy's just got that trump card. The Titans have a trump card in Derrick Henry. The Titans can just pound Derrick Henry against any team, and we've seen them do it against teams they were literally plus 10-point underdogs and just make look ridiculous. There's no way I would ever take a line like that against the Tennessee Titans. You're right. Their defense isn't that good.
Like Buffalo finally, the criticism of Buffalo going into Sunday night was they haven't played anybody yet, and they whooped the Chiefs.
Look, Buffalo is a better team. But like I said, the trump card here, in my opinion, belongs to Tennessee. I think Josh Allen is in himself like a bit of a similar situation, but when you have another weapon on the other side that can equal it out, I don't want to take the big spread here. I don't want to take the team to cover. I want to take the points. So Tennessee, people love to not give them credit because it's Ryan Tannehill, and they do have some silly losses, but this team could beat anyone, in my opinion, with Derrick Henry. They're going to have A.J. Brown another week healthier. Maybe they'll have Julio back.
Yep.
The defense is actually getting healthier too.
They're not going to have Julio next week. He's out for a bit.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, bad for Julio.
I would just rewind.
No, it's okay. I'm just clarification. That's all.
No, that's a good clarification. But they looked a little bit more efficient last week. I know it was Jacksonville, but they are getting one place they are getting healthier is on defense. Bud Dupree, is back, so that one's confirmed. But yeah, man, I'm on the opposite side. I'm prepared to look foolish if Buffalo and Josh Allen just steamrolls this team. I kind of expect the Bills to win because of how good Josh Allen is, but again, I'm not taking him to cover more than like 3 points. I think this line is not giving any respect to the Titans, and I hope it moves to 7 because, like I said, then it'll be like my bet of the week probably.
Okay. We have producer Eamon with us. Eamon, could you double check that on Julio Jones? I'm pretty sure I saw Julio's out for like another month. Maybe
definitely
I'm
be
wrong.
right. I mean, he hasn't been practicing or anything, so
Okay.
I couldn't remember. I don't think he's on IR, but I mean, yeah, we'll double check.
Yeah.
For our loyal viewers.
Yes, please, because we want to be accurate and we want to be consistent on accuracy and getting it right. So, all right, want to look ahead to tonight? We should do that. We should do that. Let's look at Ravens, Colts tonight, Monday Night Football. To wrap up week number 5, the line opened at 6.5. The preseason line was 4 points. Ravens -4. It's now a 7-point line, touchdown spread. Colts are getting 7. 46.5 remains our total. You can get the Colts on the money line at +260. Colts against the spread are 2-2. They are 2-2 to the over this year. Ravens against the spread are 2-2. They are also 2-2 to the over. The money, the public is all over Baltimore. What do you make of it?
Yeah, no, I think it's a bit of an overreaction. You know, the Colts have now a week healthier Carson Wentz. They do have a pretty good, run game themselves now developing. And how much credit are we giving Baltimore here? I mean, Lamar Jackson's definitely been better as a passer. I think they're the better team right now, but like everyone was kind of high on Indy coming into the year. I mean, the whole talk about Indy is they got a good O-line. They got a great D-line. They can control the game. Now they're going to have Carson Wentz.
Yep.
Like now Carson Wentz is healthy and everybody just hates him. Oh, the line just moved back to 7.5.
Whoa.
So now you're getting 7.5 points and like no one wants to take them. I mean,
yeah,
this team. Yeah. I really like this Colts bet, quite frankly, especially at 7.5. I know I was talking to you earlier. This line has fluctuated between 8 and 7. I'll love it at 8, but even at 7, I'll be on the Colts side here. Baltimore, a little bit weak down the middle. Indy does have Mo Alley Cox getting more involved. They got Naheem Hines can work over the middle. I think at the very least they're going to be able to move the ball. And I said this on the sweat. There's a couple different ways the Colts can cover here. This is going to be a slow game. Indy likes Baltimore. They're definitely capable. If they're not just running over teams and getting like 60-yard Lamar runs on offense, they definitely will play at a slow pace. These two teams rank like bottom 12 in terms of pace of play. The Colts want to keep this slow as well. They don't throw like 40 times a game. When you have games like that, if the Colts get out in front a little bit or run out a little bit with Jonathan Taylor, I mean, Baltimore, this game's going to end up really close and just a field goal game at the end. So, and just to add on, if the Colts do get behind, Carson Wentz a little bit healthier again. I kind of trust him almost to get us a backdoor cover at 7 or 7.5. So I just don't see the Ravens as blowing teams out right now. They're playing okay. Lamar's playing good, but I don't know, like it's close against Denver. Are we calling the Colts that much worse than Denver, giving them 7.5 points? Like, this is a Ravens team that barely beat Detroit. What are we? Why 7.5 points? I don't know. I think this should be closer to like 4.5, 5.5. But I'll be on the Colts here at 7 and over.
Yeah, like you said, it moved right when we started breaking it down. So our timing was impeccable.
Yeah, it's been moving all day. It was 8.5. It was 8 this morning, and then it got down to 7. Now it's 7.5.
It's a lot of points.
Take the Colts.
This is when your argument for Buffalo, Tennessee about I'll take the points in that spot. I kind of feel you on that for this particular game.
Yeah. And this game, again, it's going to be slower pace. I mean, we're relying on the Colts to score a few points, I said this, I rarely bet Carson Wentz teams, I don't like to be on that side, but he is healthier. He looked okay last week. He had his best game as a Colt last week, 75% completion rate, very efficient. I'm just not the hugest believer in the Ravens. Their defense has been a little bit up and down this year too. Let's not forget they were up big against the Raiders and let them not only cover but win. I've seen enough from the Ravens to just think that they don't really deserve. They're a better team, but they don't really deserve 7.5 points here.
Real quick to some other numbers here. 82% of the handle is on Baltimore -7.
Yeah.
72% of the bets on Baltimore -7.
And
a lot of handle on the over. Yep.
Again, unless you're really, really certain about a team, when you see that much public money on one side, it's usually a good idea to go on the other side. So I'm definitely not that certain about Baltimore here. So yeah, again, more love for the Colts for me.
And then, something you mentioned how we're going to rely, and we're going to get to DFS here in a second, then we're going to wrap it up. The other thing, too, is since Frank Reich has got to Indianapolis, the Colts, they play in a lot of high-scoring games on the road. The Colts to the over are 16-13 since Frank Reich got to Indy in 2018. So if we're looking, I know I'm talking total right now, but if we're looking to take the 7.5 and then you get the Colts to score some points tonight with a more comfortable Carson Wentz, you're making a good case. Nyheim Hines might be out, which actually might be favorable to the Colts. When you're down a running back, you got to throw the ball a little bit more. And the other thing, too, with Baltimore, you wonder, well, how are they going to beat Lamar Jackson? Well, Baltimore's left tackle's out again tonight. Stanley's hurt. He's out. Ronnie Stanley is out again. He's been hurt since week 1. The case for Baltimore, Darius Leonard, his ankle, his status unknown. And that's about it for Indy as far as their defense. So some things to think about. And they met last year, by the way, and it was a 24-10 win for the Ravens in week 9 at Indy. So maybe they're considering last year too much. Let's go to the showdown. Do you have to captain Lamar Jackson? Why wouldn't you captain Lamar, right? Because I guess you don't want to captain him because you need some contrarian plays.
Yeah, I mean, look, I definitely do like captaining Lamar Jackson. And when you look at this showdown slate, I think it's going to be a really fun showdown slate. Because there's good value options we can look to on both sides. Indy has Michael Pittman, and he's going to be popular, but there's some other people getting involved. Like, they do spread the ball around a little bit. You mentioned Nyheim Hines might be down. I think Mo Alley Cox, I think he's around 5,000 or 6,000 in the flex. The Ravens have given up the most receptions to opposing tight ends this year. Mo Alley Cox starting to play more than Jack Doyle. And, Mo Alley Cox is the athlete. Like, he's the guy who like sometimes will just go on like a little touchdown run, catch touchdowns like 3 straight games. I love that play tonight. You can pair him with Carson Wentz. And again, you use player like that with Wentz, and all of a sudden Jackson in your captain isn't that big a deal. You can even go down further though, because the Ravens now have, because Lamar Jackson is throwing a little bit better this year, the Ravens wide receiver 3s are now actually viable. James Proche, 6 targets last week, $1,000. Devin Duvernay, if you want to go for the home run play, he's the special teams guy. He's a little bit more expensive. I think he's around 2,000 or something, but these guys are cheap, man. Like 48.
He's 48.
It's still really cheap for a wide receiver to pair with your quarterback.
He had 6 targets last week too. Yeah.
Like, again, I think Marquise Brown could have a really good game here. And you could captain Marquise Brown, save money, but like, do you really want to trust Marquise Brown? I mean, there's a lot of scenarios where Marquise Brown gets like 6 targets, drops a ball, and goes for like 50 yards, whereas Devin Duvernay gets in the end zone, or Proche, or maybe it's Mark Andrews, and then you're saving money and you're fading all those Brown lineups. So if you're going to captain Lamar Jackson, you've got viable, cheap wide receivers to pair him with here, which is why I really like captaining him tonight. Make the people who use Brown or someone else or just get silly pay. So I don't mind captaining Jackson at all. If I was going to go with someone else, you want to be contrarian, it's definitely Jonathan Taylor. If Lamar Jackson isn't taking over this game, it's probably going to be Taylor on the other side, right? Or it might be both of them, but that's the guy who can really take it over for Indy. You mentioned Hines is banged up. That Jonathan Taylor is like a top 5 rusher. You put him up there with like Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry, just in terms of what he can do on the ground. 6.4 yards per carry now. Hines might be out. If Indy wins this game, it's because Taylor went nuts, right? So I think that's the contrarian move. And if I was making 3 lineups, I definitely have Taylor in one of them. Like we're talking like the big millie maker, where again you want to be unique, I would definitely spend one on Taylor, because that gives you exposure to that Colts win, where you got to think Taylor would be heavily involved.
Sure. A couple questions. We can get to them now. Any exposure to Tyson Williams tonight of Baltimore? I think I saw him at 1,200.
Well, is he going to be active? I mean, have we announced the actives yet? Because he's okay. So he is. Yeah. Okay. So
expected to play as their third running back tonight. Yeah.
Absolutely, you can. Latavius Murray averaging 3.4 yards per carry. Tyson Williams has been easily their most explosive running back. I don't know. I mean, I guess I wanted to get Le'Veon Bell out there, but I think we know what that's all about. So yeah, no, he's a play. I'm not really big into Latavius Murray here. The other factor is here, we've seen Tyson Williams be a solid receiver out of the backfield. He actually had maybe didn't have a touchdown run, but he had a couple long catch and runs. That's kind of how you beat this Indy defense. You're not going to run through them. They're a pretty good, solid D-line, regardless of Leonard's in or not. But I don't see Latavius Murray going out there and dominating. So I actually kind of like that call. Whoever brought the question up.
First time playing Fortnite on Twitch.
There you go. I'm not big into Latavius Murray tonight, which should tell you I am kind of interested in a cheap backup like Tyson Williams at 1,800. I would put him up there with the same kind of upside as Proche, quite frankly, whereas these guys are so cheap. You get 2 catches or maybe 1 long run, and Williams is even better because he's got better touchdown upside, right? So he's a little bit more expensive, but yeah, I like both those guys. Cheap plays on the Ravens. Again, just another player you can pair with Lamar Jackson, and really easy to fit him in the captain spot tonight.
Sure. And he's, I think I saw him, where was he? He's 1,200, 1,800 to captain.
Oh, 1,800 in the captain. Yeah, I'm thinking captain.
Right, but 1,200 overall, yes. And he's cheaper, $600 cheaper than Le'Veon Bell. Lewis in the YouTube chat, do you like Hines? Well, we're not sure about his status. If anything, I think this might be a night, we've kind of hinted at it, we haven't said it, but it might be a night where it's not a shared workload, and Jonathan Taylor gets a little bit more love. Maybe.
I do like Hines if he was healthy here. The Colts, as much as I like them, they're 7-point underdogs. They're projected to be behind in this game, which the Colts have, when they get behind in a game, they're not afraid to take Jonathan Taylor off the field for Nyheim Hines. So I definitely like him, but doesn't carry an injury designation. Yeah, I didn't know. I thought he was
a shoulder, and he's practiced the last couple days.
Yeah. I thought maybe something new came up when you mentioned him, but no, he's full go. I don't mind him at all. I really don't. It's just, again, you're making, let's play the game. You're making 3 lineups. You could play both running backs, but realistically, if I'm playing Taylor, I kind of am either captaining him or maybe not playing him. That doesn't have to be the way you go about it, but if I was making 3 lineups, that's probably how I would look at it. And then in the other lineups, I would put Hines in, because if Lamar Jackson goes off and he has a monster game, Baltimore gets up by 20, you're not going to see that much Jonathan Taylor late in this game, but you will see this guy, Nyheim Hines, right? So I think Hines makes for a good stacking target with Jackson. You play the game flow that way. Whereas if you're playing Taylor, I would just captain him, because if you're going to pay up and get the monster game, you're going to really punish the people by being contrarian in the captain spot with them. But that's just kind of how my brain is looking at this one. Some of these things never work out. Jonathan Taylor could get 8 targets tonight for all we know. But if Hines is healthy, I do expect him to be the pass catcher. And again, yeah.
I think your hunch though is right, as far as if we think the Colts are going to be behind. That's why. Are you really comfortable playing Jonathan Taylor in a captain role?
So far through 4 weeks, I think Taylor had some pass targets in week 1, but it was kind of a mirage. So far through 4 weeks, when the Colts have been ahead, you've seen Taylor. When the Colts have been behind, you have not seen Taylor. And it's just evidenced by the game book, right? In that Tennessee game, he was raking. He was getting yards. Guess what? They got behind by 2 scores. You didn't see him the rest of the game. He only had 10 carries, despite averaging 6.4 yards per carry. That tells you where Frank Reich is at. I don't agree with it, but that's how they use them.
They also gave Hines a little money, if I remember correctly. So they
did. They're connected. It's true. It's a good point.
You know what I mean? That's important. I know that we don't talk contracts often in fantasy or betting, but that's kind of important. They got to get the guy on the field. That's what they think of him. And they love Jonathan Taylor, but when you're paying someone, and I could pull it up right now, but I'm not going to. They're taking care of Nyheim Hines, so they're going to justify the signing and play him. Any love for Michael Pittman tonight in the captain?
Yeah, you could look at Michael Pittman, I guess. Because Michael Pittman could get there. I think that, if you're playing Michael Pittman, he would. We got to play Wentz. He does have the targets. You're thinking, okay, if Michael Pittman goes off, it's probably, there's going to be a lot of pass attempts. But is Lamar Jackson going to be going off in that scenario too? And then Lamar obviously has the massive rushing upside, but. I think that if you're looking for the Colts, I would prefer Taylor, because I just don't think that if they get up in this game, I just don't see them throwing to Michael Pittman 12 times. So my thought is I like Michael Pittman more as a flex play with Lamar Jackson. And I think he's going to be popular like that. So I guess you could say, well, if everyone's going to do that, then I'll put him in the captain spot. I really like Michael Pittman as a player. He's got good upside, but Carson Wentz isn't averaging a ton of downfield throws. Yeah. The Ravens do have pretty good outside corners. That's kind of their strength. I'm not huge on him captaining him, but I definitely see value in coming back with him with the Lamar captain lineup.
Okay, we got to get going. Last thing, real quick. Do you any props tonight? I know you like to throw out some props. Anything you're interested in?
I like Carson Wentz over 220. I think it's 227 passing yards. I don't know what is. Yeah, it's QB props. If you go to the top there, there you go.
Yep.
What is it at 230 now? Yeah, that's fine. Over 230, 230 and a half. The teams against Baltimore throw the ball over 38 times per game. Carson Wentz is averaging well over 30 pass attempts per game. I think that, again, as a team that's projected to be behind, you take the over there. You should see lots of volume on Wentz. I also don't hate Carson Wentz to throw an interception tonight. That's another prop I don't mind.
Okay. Over. A half a pick. Minus 105. Okay. Good deal. Very good. Good show. Good stuff. Looking forward to it. Geoff, I will admit you kind of swayed me tonight. I'm leaning Indianapolis now with the points.
Okay,
not to win the game, but yeah, you convinced me. Maybe I'll get you by Monday to
down with the ship together, friend.
I want you to rethink your analysis of the Buffalo Bills. They deserve more respect. The Buffalo Bills should be favored by.
I'll slam myself through a couple tables tonight and see if that changes my mind.
We missed Matt Meiselman today. Hopefully he's with us next Monday for this version of the slate. Yeah, Meiselman's the man. He was bummed out he couldn't make it today. Thanks to Eamon and Andrew behind the scenes. For Geoff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for watching the slate. We are here every weekday at 5 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Twitch, on Twitter. The slate returns tomorrow. Steve Buchanan, Gary and Thorne, yours truly. We'll talk some baseball and maybe some other sports because baseball is winding down. Thanks for tuning in. And the sweat is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Good luck with. And one more plug. One last plug. I'm hopping over on the DraftKings TikTok account at 6:30. So if you want to come hang out there, that's where I'll be for a few minutes. Wow. Yeah. To the younger crowd. Yeah. Okay. Thanks everybody. See you soon. Bye.